Good morning, guys. It is a very cold Monday, -4 degrees Celsius, but it is really nice weather, and it is day 4 of me having this Audi Q8, a very short loan because this car is leaving their press fleet, Audi Norway's press fleet, and thankfully they were, able to just keep it for a few extra days so I could actually test drive this car. So in today's video, let's see if we can just get on the main road here. In today's video, I'm going to give you guys my review on the 2019 Audi Q8 50 TDI S-Line. I'm just going to go out and say it right away, guys. I really do like this car. This is one of the best cars I've driven in a long time. I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I like it, but it does have a few negatives, and only a few negatives, nitpicking almost at this point, but I just want to get them out of the way before we talk about the positives. So, number one, it is quite pricey, and options do get quite expensive very quickly. Audi seemed to have, taken BMW's place in, being the options whore, if you want to call it that, being, the brand that charges you for everything. Usually, they have 4 audio systems, they have 4 headlight options, they have 4 seat options. So, getting the best out of the best usually does get very expensive very quickly. And this car is really, touching Porsche Cayenne prices. And I have driven the new Cayenne, which this is basically a very close cousin to. So I do imagine that them being, very similar in the driving experience, but still, that Porsche badge does carry, more status. It carries more history. It carries more prestige and tradition. So a lot of people might, gravitate towards actually buying a Porsche, that being, a car that is basically the same car than this. So I think it is very expensive for what it is, and it could get even more expensive when you option it up the way you want to option it up. Another negative is that this car only has 2 engine options available as of, November 2018, December 2018. And in some markets you can only get 1 engine, like here in Norway you can only get the 50 TDI, which is a 3-liter diesel with 286 horsepower. It's a V6 power plant, and you can also get the 50 TFSI, which is a 3-liter turbocharged V6 gas engine with 335 horsepower. So there are no, SQ8s available and no RSQ8s, but there will be rumored those 2 engine options in the future, and also a small, that was just Audi Presense intervening. That was very strange, and diverting me, just taking control of the steering and braking and just steering me to the left. Very strange. Maybe he thought I was going to hit the pedestrian who was walking, on the sidewalk. Very strange. But as I was saying, there will be a smaller diesel engine also available later on in next year. But still only 2 engines, which is, it is a new car, but that is, a negative for a lot of people. So the last negative about this car is that this seat cushion is a bit too long for me. And I know that's specific to me and people who are, a bit shorter. I'm about 5'7", so I'm not the tallest person. I'm not helped by my upper body is the upper body of somebody, almost 6 foot. I only have short legs, making it even worse. I do, experience this from time to time in some cars, and actually my old XC90 had seat cushions which were a bit too long, but they addressed that issue because my new XC90 doesn't have that issue at all. Those seats just fit me perfectly, but I find myself having to inflate the lumbar support here just to move my body just a bit forward. That does help, but that does mean I do have to compromise a bit on seat comfort. So that is something to consider if you don't have the longest legs. So those were the negatives out of the way, and let's talk about the positives, because there are many. First off, this is one of the quietest cars I've driven in a long time. And I think it's even more quiet than I remember the Q7 being, and that was a very quiet car. This has the optional, double pane laminated windows, but it is still on 275mm wide tires, though on, you know, studdless winter tires seem to be just a tad bit quieter than summer tires. But still, we're doing now 80-90 kilometers an hour. That's about 50-55 miles an hour, and it is so silent in here. And even at motorway speeds, you don't hear anything, you know, from the wing mirrors at all. It's just dead silent. And then we have this power plant. As I said, this is a 3-liter V6 diesel, and the engine insulation job that Audi have done here is impeccable, because you only hear a distant sounding engine. And you guys who have been following the channel for a while know that I've had a real issue with diesel engines as of late, especially 4-cylinder diesels. V6 diesels, you know, seem to be a very different case. But this, I mean, even compared to my Volvo XC90, which is a hybrid, running in hybrid mode, this isn't, you know, offensive at all. It's not intrusive at all. It's just a very distant rumble, and it actually makes a very nice sound when you step on it. And then you have the performance. So 0 to 60 is just above 6 seconds. And yeah, this thing just, you know, builds speed very effortlessly, very quickly, and it is a quick car. You don't need anything more than this. This is a real, you know, intercontinental cruiser. That 5 Series I had, you know, last week, I was gonna make a video about that car being, you know, a real intercontinental express, you know, replacing these old GT cars we had in Europe, well, many decades ago. That the diesel, you know, the modern executive saloon with a huge 6-cylinder diesel engine has become, you know, the Intercontinental Express. But I think this has become the Intercontinental Express, because this, with its adaptive, you know, lane keep assist, which works very well, but you can only, you know, leave your hands off the steering wheel for a few seconds. It will, you know, give you a prompt and a message to get your hands back on the steering wheel, and it can be a bit sensitive on steering inputs, meaning you can't just rest your hands there. You have to, you know, sometimes give it a deliberate steering input, so it doesn't, you know, give you a flashing on the screen. But otherwise than that, this engine, you know, returning very high fuel mileage. I've, in my 4 days of this car, done about 7.8 liters per 100 kilometers, conversion to MPG on the screen. And it is so quiet. See, 120 kilometers an hour. I don't even have to raise my voice, guys. I'm whispering and you can still hear me. So the quietness, the refinement, and this car being on the adaptive sport air suspension, it is a, you know, it is a taut ride, but it's by no means uncomfortable. I think it rides just a bit harsher than my XC90, but on the other side you get much better body control, you get much sportier handling. And my girlfriend, who, you know, just doesn't really like driving my XC90 because it's so wallowy, it moves around about, I really do love it because of the comfort, loves this car. This is like her Audi A4 station wagon, just jacked up a bit. It really is a very impressive driving car. Another thing I love about this car is the progressive power steering with the 4-wheel steer. So in tight spaces like this, almost no steering lock for full lock. Look at that, guys. And then turning on this, you know, this tiny space here, and this huge SUV. This SUV is 5 meters long, so that is very impressive, making this car just a very easy thing to maneuver around town. Audi's virtual cockpit, along with the brand new MMI touch response infotainment system, and also, you know, the touchscreen climate controls down here. I really do like this infotainment setup. You know, away is the old scroll wheel, though I still wish we had a scroll wheel like we do on, you know, BMW's iDrive, which still, you know, keeps the touchscreen. This infotainment system, or this virtual cockpit, this digital gauge cluster, is my favorite in the business today, and I am also very fond of the navigation system here, you know, the infotainment system. For a whole separate video on that, please check out the link up there in the right corner, but it is very easy to use and a very simple layout. This being a large vehicle, it has a large and spacious cabin. This front cabin is very spacious, and the way, you know, the dashboard rakes away the low cowl of the dashboard, just the width and, you know, the spaciousness, the airiness in the front cabin is very welcome. I sit very comfortably in this car, and also the rear seat is also huge. You can see our baby seat there for my daughter. And if you want, you know, a full tour of the interior, please check out the link up there in the right corner, rather up there, to see just how spacious this car and the trunk is. And also, with the cabin being spacious, this interior space also in quality and design is impeccable. Audi do build one of the nicest cabins in the business, though some materials are, you know, not quite up to par or what I am expecting, not quite up to par with something like an XC90. The design is, you know, outstanding, and the switchgear, nobody does switchgear at this price point better than Audi, so I really do like this interior a lot. One of the best things about this car is the way it looks on the outside. I think this is hands down one of the best looking SUVs on the market today. By far the best rear end of almost any normal car. It looks like a supercar from the rear, and it's very reminiscent, you know, of the Audi Quattro from the 80s. I do just love this rear. My, you know, last favorite rear in a car was maybe the old Audi A7, but I think this looks even better. The profile is very nice. They made this look coupish without, you know, going the BMW X6 route, making it just look pompous and awkward. And also, I love the front, the aggressive front end. I just love the way this car looks. One of my favorite looking cars at the moment. And lastly but not least, the last, you know, positive, the last takeaway from this car is the way it makes you feel. In a day and age where everybody's driving an SUV, so you have, we're just around here, we have, well, a Q5, two Q7s, my XC90, a GLC over there, a GLC 63 over there, Mitsubishi Outlanders, you know, another Q7 over there. We are parked outside of, you know, Audi, Volkswagen here in Norway, but still, everybody's driving an SUV these days. The XC90 there is the most sold luxury SUV in Norway, so it's not special in any ways, but this really does feel special. It looks special, and you do feel special driving it. And since it's not, you know, your most practical, your most sensible SUV, this, you know, appeals more to your feelings and things like that. It won't be the most sold SUV either, so this will, you know, stay special for a very long time. So guys, that is my review of this, the 2019 Audi Q8 50 TDI S-Line. One of my favorite cars at the moment, and I do like it a whole lot better than I was expecting, especially hopping out to that BMW 530D, which was a brilliant vehicle, and probably also a better vehicle than this, but this just, you know, appeals to a different side of me. And this is the car I would actually spend my own money on if comparing those two cars. I know comparing a station wagon and a SUV isn't, you know, isn't fair, but if you put it that way, I do like this car a whole lot better, even though that BMW is a better car to drive. This is actually the only car I've driven as of late, which I would consider, you know, switching my XC90 for. I love it that much. But don't worry, guys, I'm not going to switch my XC90 just about yet. I haven't even had it for a year, so I'll be keeping that for a long while still. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below. And for more car content, as always, guys, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.